Joani knew that life is unpredictable, and she never took for granted how important it was that Noah and David developed such a strong bond with each other. There's a rabbinic saying that says, "A broken heart is a bigger heart." David, I feel certain that you understand this better than most people. You have a big heart and a generous spirit, and you gave Joan tremendous joy and freedom. We're all grateful for that. A mark of a great love is that there's room for more love. So it does not surprise me that your marriage seeded so many other wonderful relationships. I was so touched by how dearly your siblings and your children embraced Joan, and I saw it at Noah's bar mitzvah. I heard it in the heartbreak of Wanda's voice when she called to tell me about the sad news. This was a sturdy and rooted love. It will withstand this storm of grief, and it will continue to bear fruit even beyond death. As it is said, love is stronger than death, and the remarkable life that sprouted from this marriage proves that. Joani was not a highly observant Jew, but she had this charming yenta-like quality. You know what a yenta is? If you've seen Fiddler on the Roof, a yenta is a matchmaker who puts people together. She was intent on connecting people to each other, and the web of relationships she wove between individuals and families is amazing. It feels almost as if she was preparing us to live without her. She knew that life can take some pretty unlikely turns, and her mission was to connect people with each other who could love each other. It was as natural to her as baking cookies or laughing. She instinctively made matches all the time, insisting on giving us to each other. Once when I was going through a difficult time, she asked me to meet her for coffee and then introduced me to Cindy Walker, the woman who spoke and delivered the poem a few moments ago. After a half an hour, Joani got up for an appointment, and she just left us there, confident she had made the right match and that she could now step away. I laugh at how utterly presumptuous she was in that way, and how you could not be annoyed by it at all. She left me with the right person, of course. That was Joani's way. It was like those little Joan labels she put on the cookies. She threw us together, slapped her label on it, and walked away with a smile. Still, I would rather have her here. We all would. We'll miss her. We'll always think that her life was too brief. She was the hinge, the glue in so many ways, and living without her is like staying at a party long after the hostess has left. It's not fair. It's not as much fun anymore, but still a wonderful party because of who planned it. David commented to me when I first met him, "I wish I had 30 more years, but I'm grateful for the 6.5 I had." As Laura says, I'm grateful forever that Joan had some years to enjoy life, to see Noah become a man, be able to do things like travel, host great parties at the farm, go to Women Within weekends, take a few art classes. Thank you, David, for making that possible. And thank you to these two families who have pulled together to become one family, to make sure that we honor Joan and support her son and her entire family at this difficult time. There was so much joy in the world because of Joan, and so much that will remain and seed itself and continue to live in the world because Joan graced us with her presence in a brief but glorious life.
Thank you to each of you who have expressed so perfectly and identified so completely this remarkable woman. You've heard many references to love. Let me read to you one of perhaps the greatest description of love from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Yet if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all of my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Love does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecy, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three. And the greatest of these is love.
Just a closer walk with thee. Oh, and time.
There are truly some things that can only be captured in song. But even so, we wish we weren't here today. There are some places where it's easy to get lost. I understand the bayous of southern Louisiana are an easy place to get lost. I understand the big thicket in eastern Texas is an easy place to get lost. I know from my own experience that it's easy to get lost in the labyrinth of streets underground in downtown Houston. And it's easy to get lost in a place like this. I don't mean in this building, I mean in a place like this. You know what I'm talking about. Easy to get lost in grief, easy to get lost in anger, easy to get lost in disillusionment and disappointment. And when you're on the edge of being lost, or when you are lost, the best you can do is look for a reference point, a place that can help you get found. When we moved to Houston 16 years ago, we were perpetually lost. It's the way it is when you move to a new place. You understand that. And we'd always lived in places where you could see something on the horizon. In Houston, there was no horizon. So we were always lost until we discovered the secret of Westheimer, which is if you can find your way to Westheimer, you can find your place to anywhere in the city. So I'm looking for some Westheimers today. I suppose you are too. Some roads that we can travel that will help us get found in such an untimely moment as this. One of the things that helps perhaps a little bit is to understand the real circumstance of Joani's physical life, her physical health toward the end. David and I were talking about this the other day, wanted me to pass on to you because we suspect that most of you do not know just how very sick she was despite appearances. But on the outside, because she took such great care of herself, she looked to be just fine. But it appears on examination that she'd been sick for perhaps 1.5 years, maybe close to 2 years, and that the cancer had spread widely through her body, and that since so much of it had lodged so seriously in her lungs, the likelihood that these treatments would cure her was very slim. That doesn't help me very much, but it helps a little. It helps to understand a little. It helps me to understand a little bit more the nobility of life, that when you come into this world, when you find yourself here, when you open your eyes one day and discover that you are surrounded by people who love you and that the world awaits your investment, when you begin to understand how life works,